All right, everyone, and welcome back to your purple packet. We are now on day 3, our two-step equations. So, difference here now is that we're going to be doing 2 steps. Before, you either just multiplied, just divided, just added, or just subtracted. But now we're definitely at least going to do 2 things. So, looking over here to the left, we have 4x plus 3 is equal to 11. Remember, anytime you have that number next to your variable, if it helps, literally draw a heart around it. They love each other. They can't be apart. You have to keep them together, okay? So, as corny as it is, it might help you remember. So our first step, since we know that 4 and that x have to stay together, we're going to move our 3 over to the right side. And again, remember, we're adding 3 on the left, so to undo that, we're going to subtract. So now we have all of our x's, our 4x on the left, and we have all of our numbers on the right. 11 minus 3 is 8. So now it becomes just a regular one-step equation that you guys are used to doing. So to undo multiplying that x by 4, we're going to divide, and same thing over here on the right, and we are left with x equal to 2. Okay, so what number was added or subtracted to both sides? Remember, our first step we did 3, and our number that we divided was 4. And again, this 4 right here, this is called a coefficient. Anytime you have a number before a variable, that's always called a coefficient. So I would write that down. That's a good vocabulary word to know. Okay. Now over here to the right, we have another two-step equation. So again, remember that 6 and that y, they have to be together. Put that heart around them. So now we're left with our 6y as our variable term, and we have minus 1 equals 5. So we want to make sure we move that 1 over to the right, and to undo subtracting it, we're going to add it. So on the left here, we're left with 6y is equal to 6. And again, now we should have a pretty simple equation to solve. We want to get that y by itself, so we're going to divide by 6 on both sides, and we are left with y equal to 1. All right, and what number was added or subtracted to both sides? Again, that one, in this case, we had 1 was subtracted, or added, I'm sorry, and what number was divided? We had our 6. So moving on to our next 2 problems here. We have 2 minus 5n equal to 12. Now again, we have our minus 5n, so we actually want to include that heart around that minus 5. It's technically like a negative 5, okay? So remember, we could always rewrite this as 2 plus negative 5n equal to 12, so I can really show you that that's a negative 5n, okay? Because remember, plus and minus always becomes a minus, okay? So our first step, we want to get rid of that 2 on the left side. So we're going to subtract by 2 since we're technically adding it. We're going to subtract by 2 over here, and we are left with negative 5n equal to 10. Okay, so hopefully you can see it. That's why I'm choosing to write it out like this, just so we can see that we're actually subtracting that 2, and we're keeping that negative 5n. So we have negative 5n equal to 10, and we're going to divide by our negative 5 on both sides to undo that multiplying. And we're left with n is equal to negative 2. And remember, to check negative 2 times negative 5, we do get positive 10. Okay? And what number was added or subtracted to both sides? We had our 2. And for our number divided into both sides, that's when we had that negative 5. Not just 5, we have to make sure we have that negative sign. Okay? All right, in our last equation, we have 3z minus 1 is equal to 8. So again, that 3z is staying together. We want to move our 1 over, so we're going to add 1 to both sides, and we get 3z is equal to 9. And again, now we just have our regular one step, so we're going to divide by 3 on both sides to get rid of that 3 on our left. And we are left with z equal to 9 divided by 3 is 3. All right, So hopefully you're feeling a little bit more confident about these two-step equations. Again, always make sure you get your variable terms on one side and your constants on the other. All right, so I am going to do only this bottom one here on our video, only this bottom left. I want you guys to try the other three. So here we have 3 is equal to 2p over 4. I'm just going to rewrite it. Remember, we want that 2p, that's our coefficient and our variable together, so those are staying together. So how do we undo dividing that by 4? We multiply by 4. So again, we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides, and we get 12 is now equal to 2p, because remember, those 4's here are going to cancel, okay? So we are now left with 12 is equal to 2p. We're going to divide by 2, divide by 2, and on the left we get 12 divided by 2 is 6, and on the right 2p divided by 2 is just our p. And so again, what number was multiplied on both sides? We had our 4, then we had our 2 was divided, and we got p is equal to 6. So hopefully you're feeling pretty good about these kinds of problems now. So I'm going to stop the video here, and I want you guys to finish these 3 right here on the more two-step equation sheet, and then I want you guys to try and do these ones here. Now be careful, you do have some negative numbers over here. So here, we'll do number 4 together, just since that one's a little bit more complicated. And then I will end the video. So we got to draw in our line here. Notice we have a negative 6.85. So here is our variable term. We have our m over 4, so those are going to stay together. So how do we undo that minus 6.85 or that negative 6.85? We're going to add it. We're just doing the opposite sign. So I'm going to add it over here. And we're left with our m over 4 on our left. Remember, this negative 6.85 and positive is going to cancel. And then on our right, we have negative 11 plus 6.85, which is negative 4.15, okay? And now we have just a regular equation. So again, we can multiply by 4 to get rid of dividing by it, and we're left with m is equal to, and I'm okay if you use your calculators with this, we would have negative 16.6, okay? So I want you guys again to do numbers 1, 2, and 3 here, and to do these 3 problems up here. And I will be back with a part 4 for your packet.